Fast forwarding a few days, let's check it out and see what it looks like. Welcome back to the Narrowway Homestead. Today we're going to be talking about cast iron, how to restore cast iron, how to strip the seasoning off of it, how to get rid of the rust and make it nice. We're also going to completely obliterate the myth that you can't wash cast iron with dish soap, and we will be using dish soap on all of our pans that we season here. Starting at the very beginning though, why would you strip cast iron? Well, it may not necessarily be rusty, although some cast iron may be rusty. You can see with this particular pan, this is a friend of mine's that they gave me to restore. It has the seasoning all along the sides just chipping off. As well as on the bottom, you can see that horrible crackle and everything, and that's just, yeah. It's seasoned, but the season isn't holding well, and it's just been used and or abused. There's also probably some dents in the pan. I don't think that's seasoning, but when we strip it, we will certainly find out. And last but not least, we have a tiny amount of rust that will also get removed in the electrolysis process. Speaking of electrolysis, here is my electrolysis tank setup, and it's really just quite simple. We have superwashing soda and water, and yes, the water is very dirty. There's really no need to change out the water. It works fine no matter how dirty it gets, and I've probably done 12 pans in here so far. I will be running wires directly off these solar panels. Most people don't do it directly off of panels, but for me, living off the grid, it's just the easiest thing to do right now. We will be putting the positive side on our sacrificial piece, which is this brake rotor, and the negative side will go on our pan. You need the sacrificial piece for sciencey reasons. I'm actually not going to explain all of the reasons because I don't fully understand them, but that's okay. All I know is I need a sacrificial piece. I've used this sacrificial piece over and over again. All I do is simply take a grinder with a wire wheel, hit it and clean it off. I like to do that because it's a whole lot faster. I don't have to get all of it, I just have to get to some bare metal. And instead of doing it directly on the pan with this, that would possibly remove metal and create heat, and you know, it's just kind of unnecessary. I want to simply remove only seasoning and only rust and not harm any of the metal whatsoever. That's good enough. Just lower this piece down into the liquid. Flip it the other way so it takes less room. You don't want the two pieces to contact because that will obviously create a short. Put my clamp on there. Then we'll just put our pan down into the water and wire it up. After a minute or two, you'll start to actually see a little bit of water current moving, and you will see bubbles coming, particularly up off of the pan itself. Depends on a few factors like the size of your piece or the power that your charger has, or you know, in my case, how sunny it is. But I like to give it about 2 days, 2 or 3 days. So we are going to fast forward to when this piece is done and see how it looks. Fast forwarding a few days, let's check it out and see what it looks like. First thing I notice. So it looks like, oops, now I dropped it. Seasoning from a cast iron pan coming off in big flakes and floating on the surface. That is a very good, sign. And look at that, this stuff is coming right off. Take it over to the sink here. Rinse it off. Good. Looking very good. Take the scrub brush. If you have anything that's really stuck on, you can definitely use a wire brush too. This isn't perfect, but I'm not trying to do show quality. I'm just trying to do basic camping cast iron restoration. I just want a good season on it, and I want it to work well, not a showpiece. The next thing to do is probably put it over a stove or in an oven and get it drying. You'll notice I'm not doing that, and in fact I'm toweling it off and setting it in the sun. This will start to rust pretty much instantly at this point. And I may end up with a tiny bit of rust that forms on it, but once I put the oil coating on, I'll be able to wipe the rust off very easily. It'll just be some minor surface rust that forms in, 15 minutes or however long it's going to take to actually dry this thing. But, ideally, I just don't have an oven warmed up right now. So, I'm just being as real as it is, and it'll be fine. It'll start corroding instantly, and then I'll put oil on it, and then we can let it sit until we do warm the oven up and season it. A few minutes later, it looks like we do have just a little bit of surface rust forming on here. Not too bad. I'm going to take a tiny amount of vegetable oil and put on here, give it as light of a coating as absolutely possible. You don't want to make it too heavy, but you do want it coated, not sparsely. And I'm just using regular vegetable oil. It's canola oil, actually. A lot of people use Crisco. A lot of people say you have to use this oil, or you must use bacon fat, or there's a lot of different opinions out there, but I'm pretty sure that most of the oils, any oils I've tried, have all worked. So you just want this coating to polymerize onto the pan, and instead of being a coating of oil, it'll end up being a chemically changed coating that's bonded to the iron itself. Once it's been coated in oil, for me, I like to do it in the oven upside down. That is kind of a recommended way to do it. I theorize that any drips or excess oil will actually run off as opposed to pooling inside the pan, which would be bad and create a coating that's too thick or not fully polymerized or not bonded well. I'm not actually totally sure the consequences of too much oil. Just don't use too much. You don't have to do it in an oven. You can do it on a stovetop. I've done lots of it on the stovetops before. The way I do this is whenever it's time to make food, I just have a pan in the oven, and it typically gets hot enough. You want to see it above the smoke point of the oil. So depending on the oil you use, I usually shoot for 450 degrees. You're going to want to see smoke coming off the pan. Good chance if you don't have any smoke happening, then you're not actually seasoning it. You're just making the oil kind of hot, and then you won't actually end up with a seasoned pan. We'll check on this after the next time I do some cooking. I like to put 2 or 3 coats of seasoning on the pan, so I've actually stacked a whole bunch of other pans on top of it that have 1 coat already, and the next time I run it, lots of coats, lots of pans. After it's been in the oven and gotten up to 450 or beyond, it is seasoned. Well, I don't know that yet. Let's go to the sink and find out. Running water on it initially, it sure looks pretty good, but you don't actually know until you test the seasoning, and I like to test it in a method that many people do not like. Dish soap. That'll take off any oils that aren't polymerized. I'll take a dry, clean white cloth, and it's still clean after washing it with the soap, so nothing's coming off. And we will then rinse it off and make sure the water still beads off the same way. And indeed it does. I like to season it 2 or 3 times so I build the coating up a little bit better. But that's it. It's really satisfying being able to take some cast iron that looks like this and turn it into this.